Hello, this is Jules. Welcome to this Forest Walk and Chat. This one addresses the question, can you skip stages in consciousness progression and or spiritual progression? The short answer for both is sort of. It can feel like it. What actually happens is that a sparse skeleton version of the rest of the intervening development happens anyway, more or less subconsciously. So you progress very rapidly, but you leave a lot of development unfinished. This can simply be unfinished work, or it can be work that you're actively resisting, in other words, shadows. As an example of doing consciousness progression this way, I myself, for better or worse, have a tendency to progress very rapidly in consciousness progression. And then I periodically have to go back and fill in the gaps that I missed. This just seems to be how I naturally work. In terms of spiritual progression, Jed McKenna is an excellent example. He went full speed ahead into full enlightenment by using a spiritual autolysis journaling practice. It basically looked like he went straight from gross stage to non-dual stage. But if you pay close attention to his writings, you can see that he didn't entirely skip subtle, causal, and witnessing stages. He just left them severely underdeveloped. And so far as I can tell, he seems to be blissfully unaware that anything is missing. There's nothing wrong with progressing like this, very rapidly and leaving lots of holes behind. And you can always go back later and do the work that you skipped if you want to. But progressing this way does have some significant consequences that you might want to be aware of. For one thing, you'll be missing major skills and aptitudes that you didn't develop. For example, you can be a totally enlightened being and still have completely neglected your subtle stage development, which would mean, for instance, that you wouldn't have any ability to consciously use your inner senses or to work with chi. If you had a non-corporeal parasite or an imbalance in your subtle energy that was making you sick, you would still be completely dependent on other practitioners, for example, magical practitioners or energy healers, to heal you. Worse, if you didn't know that subtle phenomena existed, you might have absolutely no idea why you're sick, and therefore no idea whom you actually need to go to for help. As an example, in consciousness progression, I flew through Blue Stage. I was very young, and I barely remember it. One of the key aptitudes that one acquires in normal Blue Stage development is discipline. Since I barely developed Blue Stage at all, I am still very weak at discipline. Funnily, I've been told by some people that I seem very disciplined, but I've known people who have highly developed discipline. What I do isn't discipline. I've just gotten very good at cajoling my subconscious instead. I look forward to the day when my inner guidance tells me it's time to work on developing my discipline. Another consequence of spotty development is that it will make your experience of your current stage less complete than it could be. I'm currently in teal/violet stage, but I can tell that I have at least one severe shadow in my love line of development that still needs healing. As a result, the unconditional love that I experience, which is normally a major component of the experience of teal-violet stage, is atrophied. It's there, and I can tap into it, but it's very weak. This makes my experience of teal stage at the moment very incomplete. As an example of this in spiritual development, it's absolutely possible to become fully enlightened and still never consciously experience anything outside of manifested reality if you've been avoiding development in causal and witnessing stages. So the non-dual state that you're consciously experiencing only includes manifested phenomena. You're completely unaware of the huge amounts of causal reality that are outside of manifested reality, not to mention the void itself. This means that your experience of non-duality is actually very limited. Yes, you're experiencing infinity, but you're experiencing an infinity with finite edges. Your infinity is only infinite in 3 or 4 dimensions, instead of in infinite dimensions. So if you happen to find yourself in this situation where you've progressed very rapidly through one or more stages and left a bunch of holes in your development, and you want to start patching them up, you might find the Shadow Work playlist helpful. I'll link it below. As always, feel free to ask questions in the comment section. Until next time, be well.